All right, number 4. This is kind of an extension of number 2. Um, but I wanted to break this off into 2 categories because it would make more sense this way. The WWE has no faith in any of their mid-card talent, so the mid-card stays the mid-card and they never go over. The WWE having no faith in any of their guys with the exception of a John Cena and a Randy Orton is pretty sad. That's kind of disturbing. Like, it makes you scratch your head, because in the past you had the mid-card division. These guys would go to win the Intercontinental title and whatnot, and they would get to that title, and it was like the working man's title. Like, they would bust their ass, and that because they were busting their ass because the company was saying, okay, well, how is this guy going to be if he's in the main event? And they would be involved in this storyline that was just as good as the main event storyline, and the guy with the title eventually would go over to the top. He'll lose the Intercontinental title, eventually become one of the top guys in the company, and eventually hold a WWF or WWE title at the time, whatever you want to call it. All right. Nowadays, you have it where these guys are fighting for titles that do nothing for them because the WWE does not put any storylines for these titles. Therefore, the characters themselves cannot build themselves, and they can't get a relationship developed with the crowd. Therefore, people really don't boo them or cheer for them because they don't really know what to do. In order for the audience to get into these guys, WWE has to give them some sort of character, and that just doesn't happen. And I don't know how WWE doesn't realize that these guys are not going to get over, and the company is not going to have a future unless they decide to push this young talent to the moon instead of keeping them on the back burner their whole careers. Now, I used Kofi Kingston as an example earlier. He's held like 1 million mid-card titles. How many more mid-card titles does he have to win? Like, for example, he is now a tag team champion. It's incredible. With Evan Bourne. Oh! Yes. Evan Bourne is finally a champion in the WWE. Even though the title's worthless, he's still a champion. Mark Outlaw. But what does it mean? What does it really mean? Look at the picture here. Is Evan Bourne ever going to be anybody in the WWE? Of course not. He's not 6'4", 240 pounds. Okay, neither is Kofi Kingston. They will never have storylines that are truly emotional and that can get the crowd into it so they can care about the characters, so they'll have a feeling for them so they can boo them or cheer them so they have a chance to go over. Because let's face it, if the crowd doesn't get behind these guys will never go over. And if WWE doesn't give these guys storylines for them to be able to go over, it's never going to happen. And if they never go over, in the future, when Randy Orton and John Cena are done, who's going to take their spots? There's going to be nobody. There's going to be nobody there. Because the whole undercard is going to leave the company or get fired. Every year, WWE does that little spring cleanup when they release people because they need to lose some talent to make up for the deficits they have in the rest of the company. That's later on in the video. I'll get to that later. The WWE is not compensating for the stars that they've lost. Okay, they've lost Edge. Okay, they've lost Batista. They haven't really done a job of replacing those 2 stars. All right, those are main event guys. All right, they don't have Chris Jericho anymore. All right, their main event card is slimming down. Triple H is no longer active on the roster, at least for now. Okay, who's left? Undertaker? Well, when's he going to be back? WrestleMania 20 and that's it? The WWE has no future right now. There is none if they keep this up. If this talent is not trusted and this talent is not given the proper storylines to get them over, if this talent is not in good with the people in the back like the guys in the top card are, which it's stupid that you have to kiss ass to be anybody in that company. These guys shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to kiss ass just to get a good storyline. WWE should give them a good storyline because they want to make money. And they should know that if they give these guys proper storylines and give them proper feuds and do proper booking and have the proper guys go over, and have both of them look good, they can both go over. Eventually, they're both going to make more money for the company. And that's ultimately what they want, is to make money, right? If they keep taking guys like your Drew McIntyres and your MVPs and your Shelton Benjamins, okay, even your Vladimir Kozlovs, your Chris Masters, okay, your David Hart Smiths, your Tyson Kidds, it doesn't matter who you're picking, okay? Zack Ryder, okay, and I don't even like Zack Ryder, but my point is, and some of these guys aren't even with the WWE anymore, for good reasons. They got released, or they asked for the release because they were tired of being buried in the undercard and never becoming anybody in the company. They can't just take a random match, throw it together, and expect everyone to love it and call it a storyline that's going to put guys over. Guys cannot go over on wrestling alone. Not in the crowd that WWE draws. That is not going to happen, right? Like, for example, I am a fan of Daniel Bryan because I followed his career, okay? But people that didn't know Bryan Danielson, okay, probably are not really liking him right now because he has no character. He's just your everyday average guy who has no storyline. Is he ever going to get over? Not that route. And he's supposed to be going for the title at WrestleMania 28, and yet he has no real character. He has no story behind him really at all. If WWE cannot focus on the mid-card and just continuously just focusing on the main event, it's going to bury them in the long run. They're going to have nobody to take over when the top guys are gone. And guess what that means? The product is over. No more WWE. Vince, remember that. All right, number 5. The soap opera writers. Can they even have a clue on how to write a fucking wrestling show? I'm just saying. No, of course not. Why would they have a sense of doing that? Fucking Christ. Why do they have jobs? I mean, they obviously don't know how to book or write a wrestling show whatsoever. I don't know why Stephanie McMahon was put in charge of bringing all these screwballs in back in 2006 to begin with. And if she's no longer in that position, why are these people still working for the company? The basics of booking a wrestling show is simple. It's common sense. And they can't even do that right. They can't even get the fundamentals down themselves. And it's fucking horrible when you got people online that are wrestling fans, when these people probably never liked wrestling in their whole lives, and us, the fans, can book a better show than they can. WWE is incapable of putting on a good show because they truly believe that their shit and piss product that they call entertainment is proper and correct and has no flaws. Well, you know what? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't have any flaws. I mean, maybe it really doesn't. If you're a retard or a young child or a woman that loves to see Cena take his shirt off, maybe there are no flaws. But in every other sense, there is tons of them. All right, number 6. The WWE currently dumps too much in excess activities because WWE is a product of entertainment now. Like dumping money into things like WWE Studios, for example. All right. WWE just released Vladimir Kozlov, Chris Masters, Melina, and David Hart Smith. All right. Chris Masters, David Hart Smith, and Vladimir Kozlov could have all been future main eventers. They all had big hype coming in behind them when they were entering the WWE, and what happened? They all got buried. They all got thrown in the undercard and never to be seen again. And they all got released. Vladimir Kozlov got a special release. He got released by looking real bad on TV first. He got laid out and stretchered off the show. WWE can make anybody, no matter who it is, a top guy. All they got to do is write the script and give them the character. But the problem is the WWE doesn't care. If they would have cared, it'd be a different story. But you know what? You know something? You know what they do care about? They care about dumping money into a WWE Studios which can't sell a DVD if it tried, will never make it in the box office, and is costing the WWE money on a consistent basis. So what they do is to keep this failing entity alive, to compensate for their losses that Vince McMahon causes by dumping money into useless functions the WWE that should not have ever existed or exist now, like WWE Studios, the XFL, and something with nothing to do with WWE, Linda McMahon's Senate campaign. Wastes of money. All nothing but losses. XFL is gone. Linda's campaign run, she know when that's over. When's WWE Studios going to kick the bucket? To compensate for all their losses, for everything they lose in other functions of the company, they fire good talent that just never got a chance to go over because it was never given to them. And that is fucked up. That is fucked up. Number 7. The core product of the WWE is not wrestling anymore. Oh. Fuck, man. It's really hard for me to say this because to me, and probably to a lot of other people, it still is wrestling, but to them, it's not. Not in their eyes. In their eyes, it's being an entertainment company. Okay? They don't even want to be recognized as a wrestling company. They already announced that. They want to be called WWE. Now, what's WWE stand for? World Wrestling Entertainment. Does it stand for anything else? No. And how are you going to get by without having your core product being wrestling? You want to be known as a wrestling company when you have 2 on-air TV shows called WWE Raw and WWE SmackDown, which are 2 of the biggest cable rating shows on television. Unless they change what WWE stands for and get rid of wrestling altogether, then it's still a wrestling company. And they need to stop thinking that it's not a wrestling company and it's everything else. Because the more they focus on everything else, the more they take away from the wrestling product and the crappier the wrestling product becomes. Alright? WWE seems like they're just using wrestling to fund everything else. Like, when WWE takes a hit, they fire talent, like I said before, and my 6th reason why WWE currently sucks. Maybe next time, we'll lose a show. Maybe after that, we'll lose another show, and then in place of it, we'll get Bananas and Pajamas in 3D. The less they focus on the wrestling and not wanting to be a wrestling company, the more the wrestling is going to dwindle down. It's going to go downhill. I'd like to know how many fans the WWE lost just for announcing that I want to be a fucking wrestling company. Bunch of fucking morons.